President Trump just introduced the Big Beautiful Bill. But what's really inside of it, and how could it shape the future of America and our families? And then there's a heartbreaking story out of Georgia, a young pregnant woman named Adrianna Smith who has been pronounced brain dead, her unborn baby still alive. Two stories, one common thread, the value of life. Today we're going to be diving deep into truth, policy, and the spiritual battle playing out in real time. This is an episode that you do not want to miss. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Voices of Liberty podcast. I am honestly so thankful that y'all are here with me today. I apologize for missing the last 2 weeks of episodes and then not having the video episodes ready. I have all the equipment. I'm just having some technical difficulties. So as I try to work through those, I didn't want to keep y'all waiting any longer because I do have multiple things that I want to talk about. And so I figured it might be better just to go ahead and do the audio only podcast while I work out the kinks and everything with the video and things like that. So y'all just pray for me that I can figure all that out because it is a lot and there's a lot that goes into it, more than I thought. And so it's just taking me longer to get it set up and get everything situated. But I do plan to have video very soon with this. Y'all just bear with me. But as of now, I'm just going to do audio until then. That way I can just ensure that episodes continue to be put out and that, you know, the news and things that I'm going to be talking about doesn't become old news. I want to talk about it while it's still relevant and while it's still important. And that's why I wanted to kind of just go ahead and drop the episode today that I'm going to be talking about because I think it's super important that we cover these things. And I don't want to keep waiting around until it's too late to talk about it. So these topics that we're going to be talking about today have actually come up in the Facebook group multiple times. And so I'm really excited to be breaking them down and just kind of helping y'all understand them. I know previously we have gone through the Bill of Rights and we did all 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, but now we're going to be talking about the Big Beautiful Bill, and then we're going to be talking about the story with Adrianna Smith. These are both very, very important topics in today's world, so I really cannot wait to dive in. I was honestly shocked at some of the responses when it came to the Big Beautiful Bill and the situation with Adrianna Smith in the Facebook group. For a Christian conservative group, I was kind of shocked to see some of the responses. So when it comes to this, it really piqued my interest and I went and did a bunch of research and studied, and I'm going to be giving y'all the truth, the facts, and the basics, but I'm also going to be giving y'all my own personal opinion along with it, just so y'all can kind of see where I'm coming from. You do not have to take my opinion as the gospel or anything. This is just my opinion and what I would do as a Christian conservative woman. If you are not in our Facebook group, you need to go ahead and join it right now. Go ahead, click out of the show, and then go ahead and join our Facebook group. It's a great community. We have wonderful women. We talk about politics, theology, homemaking, parenting, marriage. We cover all the basics. So go ahead and join our wonderful community of women. I will link the link in the show notes so that you can join. We would love to have you. Before we really dig in, I want to go ahead and go over the scripture of the week. I think it's always good to start a podcast with scripture. So we're going to be going over the scripture for this week, and this is coming from Proverbs 3:5-6, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight." Again, that comes from Proverbs 3:5-6. That verse has really stood out to me the past few weeks, and it's something the Lord has used to really just encourage me and lift me up. And it keeps appearing out of nowhere in the most random places. So I really hope that in this podcast, this verse is able to encourage you and just trust the Lord with all the chaos going on in the world right now. Just trust the Lord and lean not on your own understanding. I love it when y'all guys give me a review, when you share the podcast. So if you send me proof to voicesoflibertycontact@gmail.com, I will send you an exclusive CCW sticker in the mail. Okay, for those who are not aware of what the Big Beautiful Bill is, this is essentially the bill that Trump has proposed. It has many of his campaign promises in it. For example, this would be like the no tax on tips and overtime, immigration policy, and things like that. This bill has honestly narrowly passed the House, and it is on its way to the Senate. While there is still some work that has to be done to this bill, I do think it is a good bill in general. I wanted to start by presenting some of the fears that many of y'all have shared, even in the Facebook group, when it comes to the Big Beautiful Bill. And most of these fears are centered around Medicaid. I've seen many people express concerns about the Medicaid cuts and things like that. So I wanted to kind of just take a step back, read the bill and what it says about Medicaid, and go from there. Mainly from what I read, these cuts are not bad. I read through the Medicaid portion of the Big Beautiful Bill, and one of the first things that stood out to me was preventing Americans from using Medicaid to pay for gender transition surgeries. So I'm going to repeat that again. Americans are paying for gender transition surgeries. This comes from congress.gov. You can literally go and read this section of the bill. This is section 44125. It says this section prohibits federal payment under Medicaid or CHIP for specified gender transition procedures for individuals under the age of 18. The section defines these procedures to mean those that are intended to change the body of an individual to no longer correspond to the individual's biological sex, male or female, including specified surgeries, implants, and medications. For example, this would be hormones. The section excludes procedures that are provided to an individual under the age of 18 with the consent of a parent or legal guardian, and that are intended to 1. Rectify early puberty, genetic disorders, or chromosomal abnormalities, 2. Reverse prior gender transition procedures, or 3. Prevent imminent death or impairment of a bodily function. So basically, this is just saying that they are cutting Medicaid for gender transition surgeries for people under 18 years old. But it excludes those super rare situations where someone may be born with both genders, reversal transition surgeries, or death or impairment of a bodily function. If someone had had a gender transition surgery before this, for example, and they wanted to reverse it, they could do so under this bill. I honestly don't see anything wrong with cutting this. I mean, for real, why are we even paying for this? Why are our tax dollars even paying for this right now? This is absolutely insane. It should honestly make us angry. Our tax dollars are paying for gender transition surgeries for children. Just let that sink in. It makes me sick to even think of. Reality is, this needs to be cut, and it should have been done a very long time ago. Alright ladies, quick question. When was the last time your to-do list made you smile? No, seriously. If your planner looks like it survived a toddler or tornado and a triple shot of espresso, it might be time for a little upgrade. Anastasia Company has you covered. Jillian designs beautiful work, y'all. I have her planner and it's absolutely beautiful. She's classy, she's encouraging, and she's the stationery bestie you didn't know that you needed. From elegant notepads to scripture-filled prints that make your workplace feel pretty and productive, Anastasia Company brings beauty and truth to every page that you touch. And let's be real, checking off a task feels way better when your list is pretty. So whether you're jotting down grocery lists, prayer requests, or planning your next world domination, homeschool schedule, do it with joy and do it with the Anastasia Company. Go to anastasiacode.com and use the code CCWives10 to get 10% off your order. Again, that's anastasiacode.com, code CCWives10 for 10% off your order. Alright, y'all, so next we have section 44126 of this big, beautiful bill, and this section basically is, if you're pro-life like me, this is what we have been waiting for. This section prohibits federal Medicaid payment for 10 years to nonprofit healthcare providers that serve predominantly low-income, medically underserved individuals. For example, community providers, if the provider, 1, primarily furnishes family planning services, reproductive health and related care, 2, offers abortions in cases of other than rape, incest, and life-threatening conditions for the woman, and then 3, in FY 2024, received federal and state Medicaid payments totaling more than $1 million. So again, y'all, if you're pro-life like me, this section of the bill is huge. In easier terms, this section basically means that for the next 10 years, certain health clinics will not be allowed to get Medicaid funding if they do 3 of the specific things. So I'm going to repeat them. Number 1 is mostly provide things like birth control, reproductive health care services, and family planning. Number 2, they perform abortions, except in rare cases like rape, incest, and life of the mother is in danger. And 3, they took over $1 million from Medicaid in 2024. Now, who does this mainly affect? When we look at this, who is this going to mainly affect? It's going to mainly affect clinics like Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood and similar clinics that focus on reproductive services and also provide abortions in cases other than rape, incest, and life of the mother. In simple terms, this part of the bill says that taxpayer dollars through Medicaid shouldn't be going to big abortion-friendly clinics that serve mostly low-income people if they're also performing elective abortions. For pro-life Americans, this is a big deal. While abortions will still happen, stopping this funding will be huge. If you've done any research on Planned Parenthood, then you would know that they target low-income families and strategically build their clinics in predominantly Black communities. I am not making this up. Margaret Sanger, the woman who started Planned Parenthood, was actually a racist and eugenist, meaning she wanted essentially a clean race. She also said, all of our problems are the result of the overbearing among the working class. She looked down on others, and clearly she was a racist. I've already said that. She was closely associated with Lothrop Stoddard, who was a member of the KKK, and she even spoke at a KKK rally for women. I am telling y'all, the more that you read about this, it makes me sick. This is actually all over Planned Parenthood's website. You can easily go and research it. They have it all there, their history and their founding. They don't even hide it. And I really encourage you, if you are interested, to go and research Planned Parenthood, the founding, and the history of Margaret Sanger, because it's really sick. I can say that, honestly, I'm thankful these cuts are being made. While this is not defunding Planned Parenthood completely, it is a start in the right direction, and this is something that many pro-life activists have fought for. Something I did wonder, though, is if, this defunds Planned Parenthood, how would this also affect pro-life clinics, since they mainly focus on family planning and providing reproductive health care and are also federally funded? I wanted to ensure that through defunding of Planned Parenthood, we did not also defund pro-life clinics in the process. When I did some research, it said that they are also federally funded, but it does not come from the same place. Most pro-life clinics' government funding is different than Planned Parenthood's funding. There's also a clause in this bill that makes it clear that if the clinic is performing abortions, then they do not get the federal funding from Medicaid. Pro-life centers do not get the same funding from Medicaid and Title X that Planned Parenthood does. Sometimes these pro-life clinics get funding from FEMA grants, and during COVID, sometimes they did receive funding from the CARES Act. They also get Medicaid funding, but again, it differs from Planned Parenthood. It's not the same. Typically, if you get federal funding, you cannot use that money for abortions unless it is in cases of rape, incest, and life of the mother. The One Big Beautiful Bill recently passed by the U.S. House of Representatives includes provisions to defund Planned Parenthood by prohibiting federal funds, particularly Medicaid reimbursements, from going to organizations that provide abortions. So that's mainly who it's going to affect, is Planned Parenthood. What will the impact be on these pro-life centers? So it's going to be impacting Planned Parenthood and these pro-choice clinics, but what is the impact going to be on these pro-life centers? So pro-life clinics such as crisis pregnancy centers are not directly affected by this legislation. They typically do not perform abortions and therefore are not subject to the funding restrictions imposed by this bill. The bill aims to redirect funds from organizations like Planned Parenthood to federally qualified health centers, which is known as FQHCs, and all other providers that do not offer abortion services. This could potentially benefit pro-life centers if they qualify for such funding. So in a way, this bill is going to help our pro-life centers. So the next section of the Big Beautiful Bill that I want to address is Section 44141, and this deals with the requirements when it comes to keeping your Medicaid. Now, this is a lot, so I won't read the whole thing because it is very, very wordy and lengthy, but I will read some of it. So this section requires, beginning in 2029, individuals who are eligible for Medicaid as part of the Medicaid expansion population to engage in a community service, work, or other activities in order to qualify for Medicaid. Specifically, the section requires these individuals on a monthly basis to 1. Work at least 80 hours, 2. Complete at least 80 hours of community service, 3. Participate in a work-based program for at least 80 hours, 4. Be enrolled in at least half-time in an educational program, or 5. Engage in a combination thereof for a total of at least 80 hours. Individuals may also qualify if they have a monthly income that is at least as much as the equivalent minimum wage multiplied by 80 hours. So I know that's really wordy. That's not even half of it. So basically, they're just saying that in 2029, they're going to be implementing these work requirements on Medicaid. This is if you were on Medicaid because of the expansion of Obamacare and things like that. This essentially just means that you have to work to keep your Medicaid. It is no secret that there are many people who take advantage of government assistance. I think that government assistance is great, y'all. I think it's great if you need it to apply for it, and if you get accepted, that's great. However, when we have people who are not even willing to try to put themselves in a better situation or work to get out of the situation they are in, this is an issue. There are situations where someone is handicapped or unable to work, and those are different situations. I'm talking about the people who are literally able to work and they do absolutely nothing to try to achieve a better life. They'd much rather use our tax dollars to live on, but never try to get out of the situation that they are in. So this, in my mind, is taking advantage. The section mainly deals with qualifications and requirements to keep Medicaid, therefore encouraging people to get out and go to work. These requirements are monthly, so 1, they have to work 80 hours, 2, complete at least 80 hours of community service, 3, participate in a work-based program for at least 80 hours, 4, be enrolled half-time in an education program. 5, engage in a combination thereof for a total of at least 80 hours. Individuals may also qualify if they have a monthly income that is at least as much as the equivalent of minimum wage multiplied by 80. So if you're applying for Medicaid, you'll have to prove that you've met these requirements for at least a month in a row before you even apply. If you're already on Medicaid, you'll have to show proof again at each renewal, and states can even check more often if they want to. There are some exceptions for people who are going through hard times, like if you are in the hospital or you have a serious health condition or you even have dependent kids. This will not apply to you. But in general, it means that states cannot waive the rules. It means that people are locked in. The bill also gives money to help states and federal agencies also get tracking and enforcement in place starting in 2026. So the work requirements won't even go into effect until 2029. But in 2026, the bill also essentially gives money to help the states and federal agencies get all the tracking they need for this to happen. So what does this even mean practically? The government is saying, if you are healthy and capable, and the taxpayers are helping you with health care, you need to pitch into. Whether that's through work, learning, or giving back to your community, you got to do something. I think this is great in all honesty. People need to be required to go to work if you're on Medicaid and you don't have a health condition or you don't have small children. I think it's great for people to get out and go to work. Next, we have removing taxpayer benefits for illegal immigrants. Now, this is also a lot, so I'm going to try to read them. I might not read them all, but I'm just going to read some of them. This part modifies eligibility requirements for the premium tax credit and certain other tax credits. This part also imposes an excise tax on certain remittance transfers. Below are some examples of provisions in this part. Section 112101. This section allows lawfully present aliens to claim the premium tax credit to purchase health insurance on an exchange only if they meet certain requirements, subject to exceptions provided in Section 112102. So now I'm going to read Section 112102. This section provides that a lawfully present alien is eligible for the premium tax credit only if such individual is not and is reasonably expected not to be for the entire period of enrollment in an exchange health care plan. Granted, 1, an application for asylum, or with a pending application for asylum. 2, parole. 3, temporary protected status. 4, deferred action or deferred enforced departure. Or 5, withholding of removal. In Section 112103, the section repeals the rule that allows certain lawfully present aliens who have a household income of less than 100% of the federal poverty level and are ineligible for Medicaid based on an individual's alien status to claim premium tax credit. So I know that's a lot. I'm going to read 2 more. These are the last 2. I know they're very wordy and they're very lengthy, and they can be kind of confusing. This one is Section 112105. The section establishes a 5% excise tax on transfers of payments from one country to another, also known as a remittance tax transfer. Some exceptions do apply to this. And Section 112106, the section requires a social security number to be eligible for the American Opportunity and Lifetime Learning Tax Credit. So in simple terms, these are restrictions put in place to prevent illegal immigrants from receiving government assistance. I also think this is a great idea. Individuals who are not paying taxes should not be eligible for government assistance. This is not fair to the taxpayer who pays in their entire life. We need more restrictions when it comes to this. And now you also have to have your social security number to even be eligible for the American Opportunity and Lifetime Learning Tax Credits. It also taxes money 5% sent out electronically to a person. This is usually in a different country, which is what a remittance tax transfer is. To claim healthcare, an immigrant has to be legally here, but legally does not always equal a citizen, and they have to meet certain requirements. So you can legally be here and not be a citizen of the United States and still get access to healthcare and things like that. When it comes to securing the border, the bill also plans to add 10,000 new Border Patrol ICE agents and funds up to about 1 million illegals being deported every year. So now we have the fun part, which is the no tax on tips and overtime. This is one that a lot of people have been super excited about and have been waiting on. Section 110101, this section establishes a new above-the-line tax deduction through 2028 for qualified tip income for individuals whose earned income does not exceed a certain amount of $160,000 in 2025 and adjusted annually for inflation. So that is Section 110101, and then the next section just basically says the same thing, just with overtime. This means that if you do not make over $160,000 a year through 2028, you are not taxed on your tips or overtime pay. But just keep in mind that this will only last until 2028 if this passes. Now, this narrowly passed the House, and it is on the way to the Senate. I encourage you to go and look at this bill online, and seriously, y'all just read through it all. Read through the entire thing and see what y'all think. There are concerns that it may put our country in even more debt than before. Currently, our country is $36.2 trillion in debt, which is a lot of money. The only other president to actually pay off the national debt was Andrew Jackson. Just a little fun fact. I do not think Trump's goal and concerns are that the big beautiful bill will increase that debt. I don't think he's sitting around rubbing his hands together thinking, oh my gosh, how can I increase our national debt? I think that while this bill may cost more, there are adjustments that have to be made. This is not the final part of the bill. Like, they have to take it to the Senate. The Senate is going to have to go through it. There are going to be amendments and adjustments made. And I do think that when it comes to tackling the national debt, Trump has a plan. I am curious to see what he does with the national debt. I do have an idea of how he may begin to tackle it, but again, that's just my own little theory. I'm not going to share that yet until I kind of wait and see how things play out. On top of the changes to Medicaid, there have also been changes to the SNAP program. It is estimated that the cuts to the food stamps are commonly referred to as the SNAP program, which means Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, will save America roughly $300 billion over the next decade. Section 10008. The section modifies the general work requirements of the SNAP program to cover individuals who are over the age of 17 and under the age of 65. Currently, the general work requirements apply to individuals who are over the age of 15 and under the age of 60. It also implements parents or members of a household with the responsibility for care of a child who is under the age of 7, under the age of 6 current law from the requirements. So this part of the bill changes the work rules for people who are getting food stamps. Right now, most people between the ages of 16 and 59 have to meet work requirements to qualify. This change shifts that age range to 18 to 64. So it does affect older adults and young adults differently. It also makes small changes for parents. So if you're taking care of a child under 7 years old, you do not have to meet the work requirements anymore. That is a slight increase from the current rule, which only excuses parents if the child is under 6. So in short, the work requirements now apply to more adults, ages 18 to 64. And number 2, parents with kids under 7 are now excused from those rules. The changes to SNAP also include limiting the amount of exemptions a state can give someone when it comes to the work requirements. Essentially, to keep your SNAP benefits, you will have to meet the required work requirements, the same with Medicaid. The changes also shift the cost to the state versus the federal government. As of now, most of SNAP is funded by the federal government. However, the plan in the Big Beautiful Bill is to shift the majority of SNAP costs to the states. There is a concern with this that some of the states are not prepared for this and it would hit their state budgets really hard. House Speaker Mike Johnson said about the Big Beautiful Bill, "Today the House has passed generational, nation-shaping legislation that reduces spending, permanently lowers taxes for families and job creators, secures the border, unleashes American energy dominance, restores peace through strength, and makes government work more effectively and efficiently for all Americans." That comes from Newsweek.com. We have to remember, y'all, that Trump has only been president since January. This bill is still in its early stages. Amendments and adjustments are going to have to be made to this bill. We will see if the Senate passes it through. The media has been bashing this bill left and right and has been spreading a lot of false information with it too. Most of it is fear-mongering, which is sad. There is a lot of great stuff in this bill, and I didn't even scratch the surface of it all, y'all. There's so much more in this bill, and I encourage y'all to go and do your own research on top of what I tell you. A lot of these tax cuts are going to boost small businesses in America, so this is huge. The bill has to pass through the Senate, and again, there will have to be some changes and adjustments made. I also linked the website where you can go read the bill in its entirety online, so just go ahead and be sure that you check it out. Most of us start the day with a hot cup of coffee, but imagine if that simple habit could do more than just wake you up. What if your morning coffee could help save lives? Most people don't even think twice about where their dollars go. But what if your daily brew could support life from the very first heartbeat? That is exactly what 7 Weeks Coffee is doing. 7 Weeks Coffee is America's pro-life coffee company on a mission to fund the pro-life movement 1 cup of coffee at a time. Why are they called 7 Weeks Coffee? Because at 7 weeks, the baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the same time a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That is why they donate 10% of every sale to support pregnancy care centers across the country. They have raised over $900,000 for these centers, y'all, and they have saved thousands of lives. Now, let me tell you about the coffee, because I am very picky about what I put into my body. It is mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acid, and it's organically farmed. So it truly checks all of the boxes. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, Plus, exclusively for my Voices of Liberty listeners, use the code OFFICIALCCW to get an extra 10% off your first order. That's a 25% total savings on your first order. Remember that your order will directly help support a network of over 1,000 pro-life organizations across the U.S. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the story with Adrianna Smith. As many of y'all know, I live in Georgia, and the news involving 30-year-old Adrianna Smith was absolutely devastating, and her story really stood out to me. I want to be clear with y'all that my opinion on this may not be what you want to hear. I saw a lot of arguments from both sides in the Facebook group, and it really shocked me to see some of these stances in a Christian conservative group. I am a Christian and conservative woman. I am pro-life, and I feel this situation is one where we, as pro-life advocates, have to stand together for truth. I also feel the situation is one where it also exposes those who are not fully pro-life. And I don't say that, y'all, to be super harsh or mean or hateful, but I'm being honest with y'all. It is easy to be pro-life when it comes to situations of a mother not wanting her child for various selfish reasons. It's easy to be pro-life when we see these videos on TikTok of women dancing happily about their abortions. It's easy to be pro-life when we see a mother choose life and we decide to help her. However, it is hard to be pro-life in situations when it comes to rape, incest, and life of the mother. It's hard to be pro-life in situations like the one with Adrianna Smith. As I have grown closer to the Lord and grew stronger in my political beliefs, I have begun to realize that if you do not stand for life in those tough situations too, the hard ones, then you are not really pro-life. You are pro-life in quotes with exceptions, which boils down to being pro-choice. My opinion may offend some of y'all. The truth is not always going to be easy to share, and it can be tough to share, especially when you are going against the majority of what people say. However, I'm not going to be silent on something just because I'm afraid of what people might say or think. The story has been spun so many different ways by the media, and I'm going to be talking about that in a second. So for those who don't know, I'm going to go ahead and start with Adriana's story, because I think it's important just to kind of give a backstory for those who aren't familiar with the situation. So Adrianna Smith was 30 years old and she was pregnant, and she lived in Georgia. She was having a severe headache back in February, and so she went to the hospital to get seen. However, hours later, she was pronounced brain dead by the doctors as she had clotting on her brain. So she had clotting on her brain, and she unfortunately was pronounced brain dead, and she was 9 weeks pregnant at the time. Because she was pregnant, the doctors told the family that they wanted to keep Adriana on life support until she was far enough along in her pregnancy to deliver via C-section. While the situation is tragic, and I want to extend my condolences to the family for their loss of Adriana, because it is a tragic story. But there is also someone else in this picture that we have to recognize. Remember, y'all, Adriana is pregnant with a little boy. In reality, Adriana is basically dead. She's not here. She can't feel anything. She's not in pain. The machines are basically just keeping her alive. So I want y'all to do something. When you type in this story in the news, so if you're sitting at home listening to this, just type in Adrianna Smith and look at the headlines of this story. I'm going to go ahead and read some of them to y'all. So some of these are: Georgia mother says she's being forced to keep brain dead pregnant daughter alive under abortion ban law. Hospital tells family brain dead Georgia woman must carry fetus to birth because of abortion ban. Dear America, women's bodies are not state property. The corpse expecting a baby. Pregnant Adriana's brain dead and decomposing, but doctors won't turn her off life support. Now her family say it's torture in case that's divided the world. Alright, y'all, so we can clearly see the media is already having a field day with this one, and they're using this 1 in a million case to their advantage. It is really sad. Honestly, it's so sad. I do not deny the fact that Adrianna Smith's mother is in a lot of pain. She's going through something that she does consider as torture because she's lost her daughter, and it's a tragic story, and it's terrible. The issue comes in because the family said they were not given a choice by the doctors, meaning that they were told by the doctors Adriana was going to go on life support to keep her alive. In Georgia, we have the Life Act, and the Life Act basically stands for Living Infants, Fairness, and Equality, which was passed in 2019. This act was deemed unconstitutional in 2020, and then this action was reversed in 2022 after the passing of Roe v. Wade. With the Life Act in place, it involves the 6-week abortion ban. Abortions are prohibited once embryonic cardiac activity is detected, typically around 6 weeks into pregnancy. Limited exceptions. Exceptions exist for cases of rape or incest, provided a police report is filed when the mother's life is at risk, or if the fetus has a condition deemed medically futile. Fetal personhood. The law recognizes embryos and fetuses as natural persons, granting them certain rights, such as the ability to be claimed as dependents on tax returns and eligibility for child support. So y'all, the media is spinning this case against pro-life legislation and the pro-life movement. According to NPR News, from the article published on May 21st, here's what it said. But Smith's mother, April Newkirk, told Atlanta TV station WXIA that doctors at Emory University Hospital have been keeping her organs functioning since then until the fetus can be delivered, citing Georgia's law banning most abortions after fetal cardiac activity can be detected, or roughly 6 weeks into pregnancy. Smith is now 22 weeks into pregnancy and has been on life support for more than 90 days. She says, "My grandson may be blind. He may not be able to walk. We don't know if he'll live once she has him," Newkirk told WXIA last week. "And I'm not saying we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we would have liked to had the choice." That comes from www.npr.org. So, I get it. The family wanted the choice and the option to remove Adriana from life support even if they wouldn't have done that. However, if this happens, her baby is going to die. The family will then lose not only Adriana, but also their grandbaby, their sister, their brother, their cousin. The family also says they are unsure of how the baby's health will be, possibly blind or unable to walk. I want to give y'all an update on Adriana's baby because this is what the grandmother said in May. I think it was May 21st. And this is how he's doing now. "The baby is actually doing better than the last time I met with the doctor," she said. Newkirk explained Smith is receiving steroids and nutrition through a PICC line. She added that baby Chance's heartbeat is strong and that he's measuring slightly above average in weight for his gestational age. "He has toes, arms, limbs, everything is forming," she said. "We're just hoping that he makes it." So that comes from 11alive.com. I have seen so many people refer to Adrianna Smith as an incubator, and that is not the case at all. Adrianna Smith is a woman, she's a person, and she's not just an incubator. While she may be gone, she is still playing a critical role in growing her beautiful child. And I think it's funny that they named the baby Chance because he has a chance to live. He has a chance to grow and he has a chance to have a life. Even though he may not know his mother, he will have an incredible story to tell. So you may be asking, what does this have to do with the pro-life laws in Georgia? The media is spinning this case as if the doctors kept Adriana on life support to prevent lawsuits and charges criminally when it comes to the Georgia abortion ban. Pro-choice supporters are super angry that Adriana has not been removed from life support and that the family was not given a choice to do so. They are blaming those who are pro-life, saying that it is poor legislation and that Adriana is suffering. Adriana is gone and she's no longer with us. Doctors are able to keep her body alive on a machine, but she is still gone. I want to read this by nationalpartnership.org, and it says, "The law, known as the Life Act, was narrowly passed and signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp in 2019. It was not in full force until the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. A legal challenge to Georgia's abortion law is still working its way through this court states. The Georgia Attorney General said, there is nothing in the Life Act that requires medical professionals to keep a woman on life support after brain death. Carr's office responded in a statement. Removing life support is not an action with the purpose to terminate a pregnancy. Essentially, he's saying that there is nothing in the Life Act that prevents them from removing her from life support. She is on life support because of the Georgia Advanced Directive for Healthcare. So I'm going to read that again. She's on life support because of the Georgia Advanced Directive for Healthcare, which was signed into law in 2007. It has nothing to do with pro-life legislation at all. In this, there is a section on pregnancy, and it states, pregnancy consideration. If a woman is pregnant, her advanced directive regarding the withholding or withdrawal of life-sustaining procedures will be honored only if two physicians, including the attending physician, determine that the fetus is not viable. 2, the woman has explicitly stated in her advanced directive that her wishes should be carried out even if she is pregnant. So essentially this just means that Adriana had to have something in writing stating what she wished before this happened. And because of the Georgia Advanced Directive for Healthcare, which was signed again into law in 2007, she had to have something in writing stating, I would like to be removed from life support in this situation, but she did not. And so because of this, the doctors are doing everything in their power to sustain life and to save life when they can. They've already lost Adriana. Now they're doing everything they can in their power to save her baby. So I'm going to read this section from justialaw.com, and it's talking about the Georgia Advanced Directive for Healthcare, and basically I'm just going to read the first part. And it says, prior to effecting a withholding or withdrawal of life-sustaining procedures or the withholding or withdrawal of the provision of nourishment or hydration from a declarant pursuant of a declarant's directions in an advance directive for health care, the attending physician, 1, shall determine that, to the best of the attending physician's knowledge, the declarant is not pregnant, or, if she is, that the fetus is not viable, and that the declarant has specifically indicated in the advance directive for healthcare that the declarant's directions regarding the withholding or withdrawal of life-sustaining procedures or the withholding or withdrawal of the provision of nourishment or hydration are to be carried out. So, because her baby is alive and it's growing, they cannot do anything about it. They have to do what they can to sustain life. So while the left is painting this as a picture of, it's because of the Life Act and because of pro-life legislation that was passed in 2022, we can see that that's actually not the case at all. It's actually from legislation that was passed in 2007 known as the Georgia Advance Directive for Healthcare, which basically just means that you have to have your prior wishes written down before this happened. The situation is honestly a tragedy and it sounds terrible, but in all cases like this, we have to choose life. The baby in Adriana's womb is alive and he's growing and he's doing great. We have not heard from the doctors or from the father of Adriana's baby, but the mother of Adriana has indicated that if given the option, she may have chosen life for her grandson, but wanted the choice to remove Adriana from life support. Again, I'm praying for this family. I'm praying for these doctors to have wisdom. I'm also praying for protection over Adriana's baby, and if the Lord wills to bring Adriana back to life. I also pray that this family learns the value in life and truly turns to Christ during this time. I know it's a tough situation, and I can't imagine being in that situation myself, but I do think in this situation as Christians, we have to advocate for life. Especially as Christian conservative women, we have to advocate for life. Adriana is gone, but her baby is alive and he's growing and he's doing great. So why would we not do what we can to sustain the life that is still there? It makes no sense to me, the people that argue against it. I have seen so many arguments of people saying, well, it was Adriana's time to go. That means it was her baby's time to go. God will want them both in heaven. That's basically like saying if you have an ear infection, then you're not going to get treatment because God just wanted you to have an ear infection. God has given these doctors the wisdom to make these decisions to, create the equipment that can keep Adriana alive until her baby can be delivered via C-section. I also wonder if we could ask Adriana what she would want. Would she want to be removed from life support and for her baby to die? Or would she prefer that her baby live and grow? If it was honestly me, I would want my baby to grow. And if I was the grandmother, I would want my grandkid to grow. I wouldn't want my grandkid to die if I had just lost my daughter. So I think we have to kind of look at that and put ourselves in that situation and go from there. Nobody's able to ask Adriana what she wants. And because of that, the law is there to protect life. That is what the law is there to do. I also think it's funny that in this situation that it isn't even due to pro-life legislation at all. I think that's funny that people are blaming it on that, but it's not even due to that. It's because of the Georgia Advance Directive for Healthcare, which again means you have to have something in writing stating what you wish if this were to happen. If you were to say, I would like to be removed from life support if I'm pregnant during the situation, then they would most likely remove you from life support. Because her baby is alive and growing, they cannot do that. She had nothing in writing. So this is what they are going off of. The law is there to protect other people. It's there to protect maybe even Adriana, who would prefer her baby live and prefer her baby to grow and be alive. Again, I'm praying for this family, y'all, and I'm praying for these doctors to have wisdom. I know they're under a lot of pressure, and I'm also praying for protection over Adriana's baby, Chance, and if the Lord wills it to bring Adriana back to life, I pray that he does so. I also pray that the family learns to value life and truly turns to Christ during this time. And I also pray that this is a situation where the pro-life movement can come through for her and really just be a light and encouragement to her during this time. I just think it's so funny that the grandma chose Chance for the baby's name because he is in fact given a chance because of the law. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I hope that after this episode, you understand where I'm coming from. And I hope that I was not too harsh with you guys. I know that sometimes I can kind of be harsh with things, but I do want to continue to stand for truth even in a situation like this. These are just some of the things that have been going through my mind and what I believe is right based on scripture and my pro-life beliefs. In a culture that cancels truth and waters down conviction, Conviction Company is flipping the script. Their hats are not just about style, they're about standing firm for what matters: faith, family, and freedom, and the value this country was built on. Bold designs, unapologetic messages, because your hats and shirts to say what your heart already knows. Conviction is never out of fashion. Conviction Company is a family-owned business started by a Midwest stay-at-home mom. Their goal is to provide their customers with high-quality and on-trend apparel and accessories that make it easy to boldly share truth and spark important conversations. So go to convictioncompany.com and use the code OFFICIALCCW to get 10% off your order today. Okay, y'all, I hope that y'all are walking away from this podcast episode a little bit more informed today. I hope that y'all are a little bit more fired up and excited, but also I want y'all to do your own research. Do not forget that truth matters, life is sacred, and your voice has so much power. We have to speak and speak with boldness. Our opinions will not always be popular, and they will not always be what the majority is going with, but that is okay. I also hope to have videos soon with this. Again, y'all just pray for me because I don't know why I'm having so many technical difficulties. But y'all just pray that the Lord would give me the wisdom and the ability to figure it out, that I would get everything situated, and that we would have video pretty soon. I'm super excited to be talking about the stuff going on in the news. There's so much going on in the news right now. So I will be back soon with another episode. I'm not going to give any hints onto what it's about yet, but again, I'm super excited to cover some other things in the news, and I really hope that y'all benefited from this episode. Until next time, y'all continue to keep navigating life with liberty, truth, and grace.